being able to help people recognize there is a beauty, a necessity, and a requirement to have harmony in how you function in both of those roles, feminine and masculine, despite your gender or how you identify, is going to allow you to have a better experience of life.
My guest today is Dr. Zerri Gross. As a retired Army veteran, licensed marriage and family therapist, and trauma informed yoga instructor, she has been instrumental in helping professionals achieve their life goals. And today we're going to be talking about her passions: femininity, freedom, flow, and fun. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Happy and Healthy with Amy, the brain health podcast for women in midlife who want to not just survive, but actually thrive during the menopause transition and beyond. I'm Amy Lang, master health coach, best-selling author, and daughter of Alzheimer's, and I'm here to help you make this next chapter of your life the best one yet. To start the podcast, I would love to just ask you, how did you wind up where you are now? And you're also a yoga instructor. I mean, you've got this background that is, you're an energy healer, all of this.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, maybe I would just love to start with like, tell me your story. How did we get Dr. Z now?
Okay. Well, aside from the initial parts that were very private between my parents that we don't have to go into, upon my ascend into my physical form,
Yeah.
mm, well, originally I'm from Ohio. So just kind of giving that background. And if ever you meet me in person, what you will always find out is how much I am not okay with being cold. So I currently live in California. So that was an easy transition upon my father moving out here. As soon as I could, I was like, yes, please, and thank you, and have stayed. But I would say here today in this moment, I knew as a kid I was going to help people. What I was not concrete or sure about is exactly how. As I learned more about medical doctors, I realized that wasn't going to be it because I didn't want to go to school for that long despite getting a doctorate. It was go figure. But
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying different things and exploring different stuff. Like I worked in real estate. I went to cosmetology school. I used to do ABA work for folks on the spectrum. Like I've done a lot of different things and then even went to the army because I didn't feel like finding another apartment or place to live and then have fun. And coincidentally, upon the day of our recording, I was in the military 24 years ago on on this day and
Oh,
was
wow.
pregnant, surprisingly. So, it was very interesting to be like, "Huh, I'm going to be a mom for the first time in life," and I believe the United States has been attacked for, like, the first time in a big way that I've ever experienced, so
Yeah, actually, for context for folks, we are recording this on September 11th, 2025. So, for those of you who were born and can
we're
remember it, I have nephews now who it's just in the history books. It doesn't,
Yeah.
they didn't live through it. We are old enough to have lived through it as adults, which is also different from little kids in school and things like that. So, wow, so you were pregnant at the time and
In the
still in
Army.
the army.
Like, in the Army, pregnant, I was like, "Huh." They said around every 7-ish or so years, there tends to be a war or so, and I was counting back, I was like, Desert Storm was whenever it was, and oh my gosh, I was like, "Well, it's about to get different around here." Um, in spite of despite however you wanna look at it, I had a great time in the military. It taught me one of the things that I incorporate now, and I always think back to it, um, I never had to work on the weekends in the military. And when I got out of the military, I was like, why would I go work on the weekends if the government didn't make me work on the weekends? So this that may have been the beginning of me starting to embrace femininity and a flow of like, if you're gonna work 5 days a week, like you do need to take rest days. Now, the fast forward is I am also my mother's child. My mom still works. She is supposed to be retired. She still works. My mom always worked multiple jobs. I currently have multiple jobs still, but what happened is I would do a lot of different jobs at once. So when you're saying you look at my resume, like you did a lot of different stuff. If you look at my paper resume, you're like, so how did you do all these? Well, I did them all at the same time, 3 to 4 at a time, different jobs, different types of things because the way ADHD is set up, my attention span's kind of short. So I need different stuff to keep me going and motivated so that I can do it for longer periods of time. So I started getting degrees, getting certifications. As I became a licensed marriage and family therapist, I finally broke through some of the stigmas of religion that I used to hold. So, like, I accepted yoga as not being a way to, what did I used to think? I used to think that maybe they were trying to convert you into a religion,
Mm.
and then thanks to LA Fitness, I realized, well, I don't think the gym can convert, like, everybody, so maybe it's not like that. Tried it out and was like, "Oh, well, now I must become a yoga instructor." So everything that I've kinda ever been interested in, I was like, "Well, if I learn how to do it, then I'll know everything that's possible to know."
So you seek mastery, like once you find something that you're interested in. I
I
hear that.
do. And today I realize I don't need to master not one more thing in life at all. I just don't. I just absolutely do not. And that was me being wholeheartedly kind of, as you say, moving fast forward to focusing on feminine energy, being in my masculine. If I'm doing something, then that means I will never have to slow down and address probably much of anything in life because I'm accomplishing things. I'm actively going. I'm getting more accolades. And it's like, but when will it stop? And I realized it will never unless I stop it. So,
So so
mhm,
let's pause here. I think
yeah.
it would be really helpful when you talk about feminine energy. You talk about femininity. Can we get like a good working definition or operational definition?
All right. So I was like, it would be the opposite of masculine. Just kidding. What when I look at femininity these days, what I look at is I like to think of it as your flow or your mojo. And again, maybe dating myself, I think of Austin Powers when he'd be like, "Oh, I've got my mojo back." But it's kind of when you are functioning in like the best version of you, you're able to receive, you're able to give, and it's from a equal balance space. You're not overproducing, which puts you more in a space of doing. So embracing your femininity is recognizing the need to go at your own pace, your own flow, to incorporate support and resources and support and how you go about doing that, embracing the ideal and concept of being able to rest, rejuvenate, and recover, and then being comfortable with you don't have to stay in that space all the time. And it doesn't mean any of the negative things you historically have associated with femininity.
And it has nothing to do with gender.
Absolutely not. Every person needs to embrace their femininity and as an integration with their masculinity.
Okay. And then, so let's talk about what masculinity is, just to get really clear.
Okay. I would say the best working example or how people show up in that way is when you're doing stuff and you're making things happen and you're accomplishing goals and you're hitting PRs and physical forms or how you're making money, you're like, oh, this is the best launch or business I've ever done, or I've achieved director or CEO. You are doing, you are accomplishing things. You get a degree, you're doing, you're in your masculine, you're making stuff happen. You're probably protecting maybe even a foundation or your family or your family name, but you're doing stuff and it's all action and active driven. A lot of women historically would like reach corporate ladders in the sense that they were totally owning their masculine part of themselves. And it usually came at neglecting the other
Mm.
side because they didn't want to those negative stereotypes I was speaking of, they didn't want to deal with that. But when you're in your masculine, you are ultimately you're doing. You're making stuff happen, period. You're hitting deadlines, you're making money, you are acquiring new businesses, you're doing. You are doing, 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 doing. It's action focused.
So when we talk about sort of the negative stereotypes, so what would be some, especially coming from the corporate world? So before I started doing health coaching, I owned a health club. So
Mhm,
I was actually like the owner and operator of that. And
mhm,
then if we rewind more, I was working in high tech for about 10 years. So I worked at companies like Netscape and Oracle and Yahoo. Uh, Prior to that, I was in financial services. So even like as a health club, very male dominated industries.
mhm,
So when you talk about femininity and
mhm.
some of the negative stereotypes, can we call them out just so that I want everyone to be on the same page?
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do because those roles that you just discussed, those are definitely historically, if I don't know what year in life you would look at it where women were in the homes and being homemakers, which is a personally, I think a two-person type job, but hey, that's my opinion. And those stereotypes that it's if you are only a homemaker, this is one of them. If you are only a homemaker and you do not have a job, you don't have as much value or offer as much to the world, which is like
Even the word only, right? The way you're
when
only
you
a,
say
yeah.
only, it's like, well, have you ever done it before? Because if you did and you didn't have those negative stereotypes, you would recognize this is people hire house managers now to manage their homes, to manage the cleaners, to manage the cooks, to manage the people that run errands, to manage the drivers that transport people to and from, if you can have all those roles listed out and people are getting paid and able to take care of their families from performing those duties, the ideal that only a homemaker is kind of not very nice to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you move into the other side in corporate world. Well, you want to get away from being only a homemaker. So those stereotypes look like if you go into a corporate world, you should not do the bare minimum. You should be exceeding every single goal. If they say produce 100%, you're producing 200. Anytime there's a meeting that's being ran, you are the person that has all the ideas and all the things, and you're driving all the marketing, all of the technology, all the use of how we're implementing new systems and how the production of more widgets, for lack of better words,
Mhm.
is getting done. So in that space, if you were being feminine, you would take breaks. So instead, you work 50, 60 plus hours a week. You are burnt out mentally, physically, emotionally, and then you go home and you go clock in at your other jobs, whether you have children or not, you may have a significant other, you may have pets, who knows. You clock into those other roles, you're exhausted, you're nasty and ugly. And on the flip side, for men, people expect that they're going to be nasty and ugly by the time they come home because they've been working, they've been producing all day. So if you are like a man, you should not come home and seek to relax or ask for help or support. You're just supposed to be left alone because you worked really hard already and like you bring home the bacon. So therefore, isn't that enough? And it's like you have feelings too. You were at work and you probably dealt with a boss or a subordinate that wasn't very nice and you
Yeah.
have no one to talk to. So you're stuffing your feelings because you won't ask for help or support when you needed it. The homemaker isn't asking for help or support because there's an expectation that you shouldn't need it. Everybody's losing that aspect of being able to embrace their femininity in these roles
Hmm.
because these stereotypes say that it's not okay to do so, and not it's not nice and it's not true. Everyone needs help.
I think it's that where Brene Brown talks about vulnerability
Mhm.
and how courageous it looks when you see someone being vulnerable, and yet the message we get is that's not the place you want to go because everything you just described as you were just I was thinking about I was exhausted listening to you.
Exactly.
And it really is. I think our culture values the doing,
Mhm.
not necessarily the being. And yet, when you talk about embracing femininity, I hear a maturity, a wisdom, if you will, of being able to discern like what's important and what's not. What do you need to actually sweat or want to sweat versus what you can let go of?
Mhm.
And when to be able to ask for help and things like that. Am I getting
You're
what you're putting
absolutely
out there?
there. Yes. These things were, and you said vulnerability, but in relationships specifically, that's a level of intimacy to be able to share with somebody else where you are vulnerable. And because of these stereotypes, because of how people what gets praised publicly,
Hmm.
it's not always easy to be able to show up and ask for that or share that with another person because you don't know if they're going to judge you or if it's going to feel safe to share that with them. Hence, making it really hard to have a healthy relationship if everyone's hiding who they are, what they need, and
Yeah.
aren't taking care of themselves or each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a single person listening to this podcast or watching it that hasn't heard the expression asking for help is a sign of weakness.
That, oh my gosh. Like, speak of such, definitely in the army was one of those places where it was like, if you go to sick call, then basically you're lesser or weaker. Fun tip for anyone who's considering going into the military, go. Because if you're getting hurt, guess what? Someone's got to compensate for that later. And or why not stop the hurt? Why endure pain? Ask for the help. It's not weak. It's weaker to keep hurting yourself and being surprised you're hurt and then not able to do anything. And now someone has to care for you because you didn't ask for help.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a difference between like we want to be resilient. So the
Hmm.
idea of like you fall down, you learn how to get back up. But I think there's the risk when you don't ask for help of becoming brittle in that dynamic of oh I got to do it myself. I can see someone developing resentment, right? That's not resilience. That's not a positive outlook going forward when you're not asking for help in those cases. So when we talk about femininity, how would you like if you were giving someone tips, how would you help them start embracing their femininity?
I like to help by starting with acknowledging how much they do and then looking at how much of the things that they do could someone else actually support them with. And even looking at that, what are the things you genuinely enjoy doing? So you keep doing more of that and or you start to bring it back into your life and allow other people to help in other ways. So do what you actually like, do the things that feel good for you and or allow you to literally be alive. So whether that's working out, eating, it's crazy. Some people forget to eat, drinking water, like do those smaller basic need things and then see is there a way that other people can support you in that process. And it may just be a reminder to say, "Hey, did you eat today? Did you do anything?" And allowing someone to help and support you. So being able to receive once you identify, okay, I do all these things. How can I let someone else do for me? Because
Yeah,
I do for everyone else.
yeah, yeah. The being able to receive thing, I see a lot of people struggle with.
Mhm.
There's an underlying belief a lot of times that there's no one there to help, so I have to do it all myself. So I had
But
this,
even that part that you're
yeah,
saying, the I have to do it all myself, another one of those things that people hear or believe. If I do it all myself, then that means I'll do it right. I only have myself to blame. Hence, you're not allowing other people to show up and support you. You're not allowing other people to learn how to help you or support you. And you're just adding more weight on your shoulders.
yeah, yeah. So, my primary focus now is
Mhm.
on brain health and
Okay.
specifically working with menopausal women. So, perimenopause, postmenopause. Um, so, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Um, it's been almost 10 years now. It was in 2016.
Mhm.
And she had symptoms even before that, like if I think back. So, as I've researched and as I've learned, it's become very clear that women outnumber men 2 to 1 when it comes to living with Alzheimer's.
Oh,
So, yeah, so like if we look just in the United States, we're talking about an estimated 7 million people. So, 2/3 are women. And with advances in technology, we're able to do brain imaging scans, right? There's been a lot of progress made in the last 10, 15 years. So
mhm.
those ideas like, Alzheimer's is genetic or hereditary, you either get it or you don't. It's luck of the draw. It's like roulette. It's not like roulette. It's more like playing poker.
Okay.
So the later the onset of the disease, of the symptoms, the
Mhm.
more lifestyle plays a factor. So I am really, when you look at the progression of the disease,
Mhm.
pre-symptomatic, we're
Okay.
talking like 10 to 30 years before symptoms appear is when it's starting. And guess what happens when you look at the timing? It's when women are going through the menopause transition.
Mm.
So when we talk about brain health, I'm all for the self-care habits that you were talking about. So if you were speaking to one of my clients,
Mhm.
what and they're struggling with this, giving themselves, the whole receiving
Mm.
and taking time for themselves, even prioritizing their self-care over
Mhm.
someone else, right? Because you're going into that midlife transition. You've had kids, you had the job, all the doing stuff you're talking about.
Mhm.
Uh, what are some of the skills, the mindset skills you think would help them be able to sort of shift?
Some of the things that I tell a lot of my clients, whether it's coaching or therapy, is I remind them, especially because of the population of the folks that I work with, you probably did no less than 2 to 15 times what you were supposed to be doing when you were younger. So if at 20, you were only supposed to, I don't know, maybe work 8 hours in a day, you were definitely doing about 16 to 24, and there's only 24 hours in a day. And you did that consistently for 20, 30, 40 plus years. Your body sent signals way sooner, like how you're saying, like your body was sending the signals beforehand. You were ignoring them because you wanted to produce and
Hmm.
produce and produce. So, what I would say is that, and looking at that, if you've done a whole lot of your producing for your lifespan already, if you're listening now, this is your sign. I won't say stop it all. But this is the time, start using your brain a little more efficiently instead of figuring out all the problems. Let someone else figure out less intense things. Start getting comfortable with it not being perfect or the way you did it. Be okay with it got done instead of it being perfect. Um, do go ahead and take the time to yourself. Yes, you will feel guilty as you're building this new skill up of caring for yourself. And believe it or not, if you were 5 or 6, it wouldn't be that hard for you to figure out how to take care of you first. So let's embody some of those. I don't know if you call it non developmental thoughts, but embrace the simplicity of life. If you'd like to live it longer, mentally use your brain power where it's going to be most beneficial, and it's not in figuring out how to keep doing everything. It's who can do this better than me, faster. I have worked this long. Who can I pay money to expedite this process so I can spend my time enjoying the fruits of my labor, the hard work I've already put in, being able to spend the time with my maybe even adult kids at this point, or grandchildren, or alone with silence. But starting to do those things and looking at every time you Every time you find an open slot in your calendar, don't choose to fill it. Decide, is this another moment where I get a break? If someone cancels on a meeting, is this another time that I now get to hang out with myself? If someone's calling and asking you to fix or resolve a thing, decide, do I even have the capacity for this? And if it's no, hey, I just got to stop you right here. I don't really have the space for this in this moment. If I do, I will let you know and I will reach back out. But you might want to ask someone else to support you with that. Starting to shift into noticing, what does your body need? Doing that first. And if you've
Hmm.
got leftovers, then great, go help somebody else. But make sure you are giving from a full cup first. Like you're out here giving your fumes away, which they're like, thank you very much, and taking it. But I don't know how many more fumes you're going to get. And with things like Alzheimer's, like it's not like you can reverse it back, but you can definitely utilize your mind and your body more efficiently to not have those types of to not have it intensify faster than it needed to.
Yeah, as I listen to you talk about giving fumes, that's not the version of us that we want to be giving.
Mhm.
That's not the version that we want to be showing up as either. So I think
But your
that's fair to
fumes,
say.
imagine your fumes though, when you've been producing at like
Hmm.
10x, or your fumes from 200 are now 100. Your fumes are still pretty awesome, pretty fire. But you kind of want to start reserving a little more in your tank. Maybe we're giving the world 50% and keeping the other 50 for us now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think maybe one of the big, so we both have the same business mentor, James Wedmore.
Hmm.
And one of the things that when I'm working with clients, I'm always asking them, what do you want?
Hmm.
No, not what someone else thinks, right? Or what you thought you were expected to do. What do you want in your heart? Can you drop down in there and really get a sense of what that is and what you want your life to look like going forward?
Hmm.
And a lot of people struggle with that. They've been in the doing mode for so long
Hmm.
that to just sit still and get quiet and be for a little bit is
Hmm.
so foreign because of do, right?
Yep.
Um, so where does yoga fit into all of this?
I would say for me that yoga helped in the mindset significantly more than the body for me. When I, and maybe it was about 2015, 2016, somewhere around there, when I actually tried yoga and was like, okay, I'll be a yoga instructor now. Um, at the time, I was heavy weightlifting. I was probably pending today, probably the best physical shape as an adult woman that I had been at. I was like, man, I've got all the muscles, all the things. When I started doing yoga, the part that helped the most was learning the art of non attachment.
Mm.
So that mental concept allowed me to start the process of incorporating femininity. If I'm not attached to the image of who I used to be and how I used to show up, then I don't have to still show up that way. Um, I wouldn't hug people before. I wouldn't like wear girly stuff. I was like, I can do it. I can do everything. I can lift all this by myself. I can do it all on my own. And I believed that if I didn't, then I was less than and I wasn't good enough. So yoga helped me incorporate. You don't have to be tied to or attached to old versions or titles of who you used to be, and anticipate that if you're consistently evolving, you're going to have to detach from every old version that isn't serving you in the present moment. You can't be this new version if you're still doing in the old version and you're still holding on to that old way of being, which wasn't comfortable then, just FYI.
So, okay, yoga and then Reiki, yes?
So around that period of time, I pretty much just like jumped head first in and went from, if I'm a therapist and I can help people with their thoughts and I can help them shift the way they view the world, what are some other alternative ways to actually help people incorporate and heal their bodies? So now we've got yoga, you've got some form of movement, you can incorporate that in. The different healing modalities, so Reiki, crystal healing, sound healing, taking 2 years to become a temple priestess to embrace femininity. Those things were just more ways for me to find how to get in touch with myself and how to help other people start to break through some of their barriers, stereotypes, and beliefs that they have about themselves so they too can start their evolution and like get comfortable with it. And it's like, okay, you like these things? Cool. I know a little bit about that. Let's incorporate that into whether it's therapy, whether it's coaching, whether it's a friend or a family member, but taking all the parts of things that I've learned and allowing it to be a fluid use of any of them as it's available.
That's a lot. So
Yeah.
that's a lot. You're a hyphenate. You have so many interests. I'm as I'm listening to you and someone wanted to really sort of explore this femininity, what
Mhm.
are some what are some of the common mistakes that you've seen people make? So we can identify them and hopefully folks that are watching this or listening can avoid them.
Um, and when we say mistake, I'm gonna kind of preface it as it's not that it's wrong, but it's not the only thing. So typically when people decide to embrace their femininity, you've heard things like soft girl era and I want to be kept or princess treatment. And they default to the typical self-care things. I'm going to get a mani and pedi and I'm going to go to the spa. I definitely do all those things, hands down. And that's never been a thing that I ever struggled with doing, even when I was significantly more of my masculine. But the assumption that doing those things is going to make a difference. If I wear softer colors, if I start to dress more provocative, then that means I'm embracing my femininity. Your style of clothing is impacted by how you feel about yourself. If you feel great, I love sweats. I feel very sexy in sweats. I have decided for myself that whatever I'm wearing, I need to be able to embody it and make sure that I'm owning it. So some of the things that people will do is go dress like someone else dresses, go act the way they act, engage with people the same way that you've seen other people, and you take it as femininity, but it might be something else there.
Mm,
Look at those things and really hone into, do I want, as you mentioned earlier, what do you really want? Like, if you weren't going to be judged, if you weren't going to be penalized, what would you actually want to do? How would you want to show up? And how would you want people to treat you, receive you, and support you instead of copying whatever someone else is doing? I changed my hair. I've always done that. It has
yeah.
nothing to do with femininity. I like to see what else I can do.
So here's what if someone's in an environment where they don't feel like what you're describing would
Mhm.
be acceptable?
And there are a lot where it wouldn't be acceptable. So in those types of spaces or scenarios, it's going to be that much more important to make sure that they get time out of those places so they
Mm,
can experience what it's like for them to be in their feminine. They're creating more boundaries, preferences, and expectations of the places, people, and things around them so they can have more time to be themselves. This is where the masculine kicks in and helps that femininity. You're now setting boundaries. I work from this time to this time. I provide services, support, volunteership from this time to this time. I'm only taking calls in my real life from these hours to these hours so you have time to learn new things, do new things, or just be with yourself.
yeah, yeah. I just did an episode not too long ago on emotional vampires.
Mm,
And so in brain health, we talk about social connection as one of the protective factors.
okay.
Well, social connection is great until it's not. So
Until it's in excess, where it's like,
or like if you're stuck in people pleasing mode, that's
mm,
that's where you basically aren't putting boundaries in place. That's not healthy. That's stressful. Um,
That's
I
one of those things that I think sometimes people assume if I'm being more feminine, then I'm more pleasing to more people more frequently, which is not true.
Yeah, yeah. And then emotional vampires, one of the things that I talked about was after you've spent time with someone who seems to take more than they give,
Mhm.
to definitely carve out time to spend with people who are more nourishing in that way. So it's you can recharge, refill, whatever you want. And it could be just being with yourself. So,
And spending less time with them. They they
but
get
I,
less time than they used to get. Still
yeah,
time, but not the same amount.
yeah, yeah. So you also have a program called Feminine CEO Lab,
Mhm.
which I think folks who are listening to you would be if they're really liking what you're putting out there, I'm thinking they're going to want to work with you. So can you talk a little bit about the Feminine CEO Lab?
Absolutely. So in past years, when I first started coaching people and then realized I was doing the same thing over and over again and then created a whole specific program for it, I couldn't figure out like what was the thing that I was giving them with all the stuff that I was offering. And over time, what I started realizing was I'm offering them the opportunity to integrate femininity. So, yes, we're talking about your mind, body, and yourself, and how you're relearning relationships with not only yourself, but with money, with family, with your body, how you're moving it, why you're even moving it, what you're putting in there. And the information you're taking in and who you're connecting with. So, like coaches, books, things that you're doing, how to do those things more intentionally and on purpose. And the part that I recognized it would connect and happen, but I wasn't able to articulate before is that there is a way to do that more intentionally when you are identifying the reality that femininity and masculinity have to work together. So creating this harmony of doing and being and seeing how to create a foundation where here are the things that have to happen. Now, what's your different levels of how you need it to go? And how can we restructure that? So now, as you're being and doing, it's making more sense and it's working for a flow towards what you actually want. You're able to enjoy life more. You feel freer. You have more fun. Your finances look a lot better because you're not stressed out. You are actually in a space of like, I've got my flow. I'm not surviving. I'm existing and or thriving even. So in that, we kind of go through a 6-week process. You're given a lot of information that I totally help you set up how you can routinely create your schedule of how you do life based on your goals, your things, and now shift it to instead of just hitting goals, how you do it from your flow that works for you. So you know when to go, you know when to pause, you know when to ask for help.
Okay. And so it's a 6-week program?
It's 6 weeks that we have live coaching. You have
Okay.
access once you have access for life. So any
Okay.
of the cohorts that I have, like, you're always welcome to come back, and a lot of the information it's a lot of info, so you pretty much will get access to it, and then you'll come back and work on different areas within those components as you're ready. Some
Gotcha.
of them are like, I can't do that one right now, but I can do this pillar, and we can work on this component.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, yeah, as you're talking about all of this, and I brought up Alzheimer's, I was thinking about the consequences of staying in that doing mode, doing mode, doing mode. And especially as we get older, it's the when you keep ignoring your body, when you keep going, 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 it's not just burnout. I really actually think when we look at from a healthcare or
Mm.
disease management standpoint, how many chronic illnesses are because we keep staying in the doing, doing, doing. Alzheimer's, at the end of the day, I believe, is actually a chronic disease. I think a lot of autoimmune diseases Stress or chronic stress probably is a trigger at some
It
level.
exacerbates, like, it's like, let me plant these seeds for discomfort and disease. Here you
Yeah,
go. And then
yeah,
we keep watering it by
yeah,
continuing to do, and not doing from a space that allows us to be the best version for today,
yeah.
right now, for what we said we want.
Yeah. So we keep putting, it's allostatic load, right? We keep piling on, and the body and the brain are pretty resilient. I mean, they're able to handle a lot. But at some point, you get to that sort of, what is it, the thing that breaks the camel's back? I have
Yeah.
the feeling there comes a point where we cross that line, and sometimes you can recover from it, sometimes you can't. And so let's not go there. I'm at the end of the day, I'm bringing all this up because I'm thinking, both Dr. Z and I are saying, like, we don't need to go there.
You're not gonna get an award. You're not gonna get a medal. You're not gonna get a lump sum of money. You're literally gonna get a whole lot of discomfort, dis-ease, and then at some point, you won't even be privy to what you no longer have access to because it's no longer available and accessible for you to access. And I don't wanna say who wants to lose their mind before they need it to, but no one
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I look at my mom now and I think about if she knew then what I know now,
Mhm,
when she still really had agency and she could decide for herself what she was going to do, what would the trajectory of her life look like?
right.
Right, because I think she would have chosen some different things.
If
So,
you knew like, "Oh, this is what it's gonna look like if I don't,
yeah,
I'll I'll take this break. I'll take the support. I'll take dot, 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 fill in all the blanks."
yeah, yeah. And I am by no means trying to blame her. I want to be very clear, right? It's much more of a like when you know better, do better
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we know so much more now with technology, all the advances. Why not? I mean, I think about like this day and what it means in our history, and the ones that are lucky enough to be here, and you really want to take care of the
Take care
people. Yeah, take care of
and
you. Yeah.
care about, and the best way to take care of the people you care about is taking care of you first. If you're good, you actually have the capacity to help other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think like that's like really at the end of the day the message that I think needs to sink in. And if you're coming up with the sort of yes but um
They've got a whole tribe for those folks. I don't know how it's going over there, but they're there.
So, if someone does want to join the Feminine CEO Lab,
Mhm.
uh, where is it feminine or femininity?
It's feminine CEO.
Feminine CEO Lab. I'm looking at my own handwriting.
A lot of ins and Is, like, after a while, you're like, "You know what? It's one of these F words over here. We're gonna get one of them right."
Well, and I love that it's CEO because that's so much more, I think, accurate in terms of what we're talking about here. Not the
Mhm.
homemaker or the stay-at-home mom. Like, there's
You're
nothing
the
wrong with
CEO of
that.
your life.
But yeah, yeah, yeah,
No
yeah,
matter what you choose for your career, you're still the CEO of your life. And if there is a way to better craft that and recognize our lives are pretty much a lab, we're just experiment. If you choose to, you're experimenting on how to make it better. As you said, we know more, the more we know, the better we should do. So if we're doing that, then why wouldn't you want to do that in a lab that's guided by someone who's probably done and gone through the things minimally, and other folks that also having more minds in the room are like, yes, let's create faster so we get better responses in a quicker way and we get to see the results today.
yeah. Well, and really, at the end of the day, when we keep trying to like strive for perfection, as
Mhm.
opposed to I think focus more on learning and curiosity. I think that serves us a lot better
Yeah.
than trying to
That's
be
that's
perfect.
what I said. Yes. Like, I don't want you to figure out how to be perfect because I don't know that answer. But I can tell you how to create a lab where your life gets to change and transition and evolve every single time you're ready to, and showing you some blueprints and foundational things that if you always go back and look at that and reevaluate. So, what do I want now? Now, let me reverse engineer how to get to that point based on the things I've already learned and know about myself. Then you can do that. And you can do that in the support of the Feminine CEO Lab.
So, who would you say is like your ideal customer?
I would say before I was like, oh, it's only going to be therapists like me. But what I recognize is the ideal person is the person that is in a position to be responsible for other folks. And that may be
Hmm.
someone who is a therapist, a caregiver, a healer, head of a household, head of an organization. A person that is in those roles where you're not only responsible for other people and the outcomes of their lives, but also yours, and you've hit the point where you don't have the harmony in life where you do have fun, you do feel like you have freedom, you you're having all the F words that you like that work for you, and femininity, like all of, and it's not painful. If that's not your reality, then we can probably do some great work now that you're willing to take care of you and invest in you. You've been the strong friend for everybody. You've shown up for your family. You've shown up for your friends. You've shown up at your job. You're always the person they can call for the Hail Marys and the coming in a clutch. If that's who you are and you know you can do it, but you are actively tired, you're like, I don't know how much longer I can take this anymore, then you're the right person because you also know you cannot keep doing this like this forever. So let's shift it before forever comes sooner than you anticipated.
Yeah, yeah, we don't want that. All right, so where can they find you?
They can definitely find me on the internet. So Instagram, I believe it's greater self underscore doctor dot Z. Believe it or not, on LinkedIn, I'm hanging out over there too, and the TikToks. But if you just want to go to a website and like deep dive and look at information, if you go to greaterself.org, you'll be able to find great stuff there. And if you want to hit a /hello on there, you'll see all the things that I have coming up currently. So, like
Mm.
current events, different resources that I use. So, I list if I use an AI note writer for therapy. Like, there's a link that'll show you all the stuff I use, different supplements I use, different programs that I may be ascribed to that can help you in whatever thing you're looking to do. You might not even need me. You might just need to know who cleans our house. This company. Like, where does she get supplements to keep a stable mood? This one right here. Like, you can find that information there, as well as access to podcasts and other things that I have going on.
Okay, so it was greater self dot.
Greaterself.org
Okay,
/hello.
okay. And I'll make sure I include that in the show notes and the description. And I might actually create a little QR code so people can just scan it.
Know that they came from you, and I can personally thank you and them.
Oh, that'd be awesome. So thank you so much for making the time to come on. I hadn't really thought about femininity the way you've talked about it. So I think um, the idea of balance, and I get that idea, but I've never thought of it in terms of masculine and feminine the way you've described it. So thank you
That's
very
why you
much
have
for
a
that.
nice little yin yang flow harmony. Like, you really need them both.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess when I think about it in terms of yin and yang, light and dark,
Mhm.
yeah, the sun, the moon. So yeah, from that perspective, but not in sort of the way you talked about being versus doing. I'd never really thought about it that way. So it's really helpful because then um, it I think it changes the way people have been defining femininity in a way that doesn't serve them, right? So I think this way serves us a lot better. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for asking me.
So I have a tradition of ending each podcast with a quote.
Okay.
And I am wondering if you have a quote that you would like to share with folks and then kind of take us out with it.
As you said that, what popped up in my mind is if it's not fun, it's not feminine. And I can't say that I've ever said that before, but I feel like it's probably going to be a thing that gets to be said now since you've offered this opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's not fun, it's not feminine. If you're doing a thing and you're actually in pain and it's not working for you and it's not helping you get to where you want to get to, you probably might want to let it go. Life isn't meant to be uncomfortable. So if you can create some fun, you're probably incorporating femininity really well.